Hi, I'm Jo Pestle. I'm the eldest of two girls, and my parents were both computer programmers. My mother's deaf, so that's had quite a big impact on me over my life, particularly thinking about how people with disabilities are excluded or included from communities. Having parents as computer programmers taught me to program from an early age, and I did a first degree in mathematics, then worked in the defence industry. And my early experience of the church was going with my mother, was kind of supporting her, I suppose, in understanding the services. And I got confirmed, and I did have a sense of the presence of God during those times. But going to a Catholic girls' school and going to the Church of England church on a Sunday just caused a bit of conflict for me in understanding, what my spirituality, what my Christianity looked like, and I stopped believing that God existed. So that was the kind of an early Christian experience for me. I went to university, as I said, did mathematics, and then went to work in the defence industry as a mathematician, then a project leader, project manager, and it was during that time that I became a Christian. I had a colleague who talked to me about Jesus, and I argued with him and trying to convince him that Jesus wasn't real, and he convinced me that Jesus was. Well, actually God convinced me. I then went to work for a charity working with profoundly deaf people for a few years, and then in two theological colleges before I went to theological college myself, which was a bit of a busman's holiday. So I became a Christian when I was 27, and at the time it was in a church, a charismatic community church, that didn't believe in women in leadership. But as I became a Christian, I really felt like God was saying that I would be in church leadership one day, which was kind of a strange thing for me. So that kind of, it just hovered in the background for a few years. And I started going to an Anglican church probably at the end of 2007. And that was really encouraging, because for the first time I was seeing women in leadership and women priests. And quite a lot of people around me started to say, "Oh, Jo, have you thought about ordination yourself?" And that kind of brought back to me what I felt God had been saying those 7 years beforehand. So I started to really just hold that before God in prayer. And it was probably about 4 years later, in the summer of 2011, I was just driving along one day, and I just suddenly, in my gut, felt like now's the time to pursue it. So I literally turned the car around and drove to see my vicar and said, "I feel like God's calling me to train for ordination." He was like, "Yeah, I think so too." So I was like, "Cool, what do I do next?" And so it just kind of carried on from there. And there were some delays in the process, although I really enjoyed the discernment process, and it felt very positive that the church was discerning together. It wasn't just me going, "Yes, I'm called to ordination." It felt like there were lots of people involved and kind of exploring that with me, which was fantastic. But with things happening at work, the process got delayed a little bit. But I eventually started training in September 2013, which has just really been an awesome time since then. So, in one sense, I've never doubted the call to ordination. I think because of that discernment process over the course of a number of years, and so many people from across the church being part of that, and people in my congregation being supportive of me as well. So I haven't had doubts on that front. I think in any call to ordination, any call to lead people and encourage people and enable people, does it makes you look kind of at yourself quite hard, and want to really put before God all of the kind of rubbish stuff that you know about yourself, as well as as well as the good things. And so I think that journey, I've particularly valued being at a residential college actually, and having the space to really pray through some of those things, both one-to-one with God and with people around me. And that's definitely strengthened my sense of call over the period of time. There have definitely been challenges financially. I've had to make some quite big sacrifices, and really to trust God for the process. I've delayed my ordination for a year so I could study longer, because I feel like God's called me to teach and to train people, and I want to do that as well as I can. So that's been a big sacrifice this year, actually living in faith, and I've been really, really grateful for the support of the church and individuals and charities and different people who've both given me money but encouraged me along the way. So that's been fantastic. Things that have surprised me, gosh, God, I think, is constantly surprising. His love, His mercy, just the way that He leads and guides us, and takes us on a route that seems so windy. You feel like you're heading towards one thing, and then He like veers you off somewhere else, both to change you, to change the people around you. He's so economic, God. I don't know how He does that. It's like He wants to, He changes things in you and changes things in people around you just by putting you together. And yeah, so I think He's awesome. He's certainly surprised me a lot over the last 15 years of being a Christian, and I'm really, really looking forward to being ordained and seeing what He has in store for me next.